Welcome to MonoGame Part 6. Today we're gonna give our enemies guns. Well, sorta. We're gonna give them projectiles to fire. And we'll start off by going to our player class and copying the following code, because it will almost be identical to the code we'll be using in our enemy class. And once you've copied the code, go to your enemy class, go to the update section and just copy paste it there. And the only thing you'll have to change is the speed of the bullet. Will make it -5, because then it will be slightly slower than our own bullets, and it will go from right to left instead of left to right. So right now, if you press play with only these exact lines of code, the enemy will be able to shoot right at you. One moment, yes. And the only thing that's going wrong right now is that it's constantly shooting, because we haven't actually given it a timer, just like our player class. So that's the following thing that we'll do. And alright, in order to give it a timer, we'll first start off with the following. We'll start off with defining the new projectile cooldown timer. So we'll write private timer, and then projectile cooldown. And this essentially created a new timer for us. And because the enemy doesn't actually have to press spacebar to shoot, we're gonna make a new section for this code to go in. So we'll write the following: if, and then we'll write our projectile cooldown is active, then this will happen. But we do not set our timer to a specific time. We'll also have to do that. And we'll write the following: this to projectile cooldown equals new timer. Alright. And below this, we'll write the following: projectile cooldown dot start timer. I won't be explaining every single bit of this code before, because it's exactly the same as the last video. So it would be kind of double work. So if you have any questions about this, just go to my previous video, part 5. Projectile cooldown dot update, and then we'll write game time. Alright, and right now, if we press play, you'll see that the following will happen. The enemy will still be able to shoot, but only every 2 seconds. And you can see it's starting to look a lot more like a game right now. So everything is going right. Alright, and since we don't want our enemies to shoot exact same projectiles as we do, we're gonna add a new image. And I thought it would only be appropriate if we're fighting towards us that they would be shooting this happy shits. So once you've edited, since we've done many times before, you should see that everything should be working fine, and we've got our happy shit right here. And this is what our enemies will be shooting. So in order for them to do that, we'll go to our game 1 class and we'll write the following. We'll write a new texture2d. We'll write private texture2d only. Instead of the player projectile sprite, we'll write the sprite, and we'll also have to give it a thing to load in. So we'll also write right here in the load content section, we'll write enemy projectile sprite equals content dot load texture2d. Alright, happy shit, like so. And right now the enemy won't actually automatically choose this one, and we'll have to make some changes before that will be able to happen. We'll have to make some changes right here. We're gonna have to add the following. Right here we're gonna write a string projectile type, and we'll move this down a bit, and we'll write the following: texture2d projectile image, and below that we'll write if our projectile type equals player, then we must load in projectile image equals player projectile sprite. And right below that we'll do exactly the same, but just for the enemy we'll write if. You could also do else, but I'm gonna write it like this because I got some plans for the future. Equals enemy then the following must happen. Projectile image equals enemy projectile sprite. And apart from this, we'll also have to add some other things. We're gonna go to our player file, and in the fire projectile, we'll also have to add a third method, which will be the player. And in our enemy class, we'll also have to write a third method, which will be our enemy. Alright, currently since fire projectile takes in a string for the projectile type, any text value could be passed. However, not every text value would make sense as a projectile type. So there are only player projectiles and enemy projectiles. And one way to constrain these possible values that will pass is to use a enumeration. And in C#, enumeration are value types that are defined by a set of named constants with a symbolic meaning. They're quite useful because they can assure that variables respect any constraints that are necessary. So we're going to do that in the fire projectile method. First off, we're going to create a completely new C# class, and we will ProjectileType.cs. And in the projectile type, we'll write the following. We're first going to remove all these methods. Yeah. Inside the body right here, we're going to create a new enum, or also known as enumeration. And it will go like this. Enum projectile type. And there will only be two options. And it will be player, comma, enemy. And right now, it does not exist in the current context because I am a bit stupid.
One eternity later.
Sorry for the confusion. The enum projectile type will be instead of our internal class. Alright, so I have found the problem. Because we've already made the projectile type class right now, which we must change a little bit. We have to put public before the enum, otherwise it will fuck up. And in the game1 file, in the fire projectile section, because at first it was a string, and now we're using a enum, we're gonna have to change that part, and we'll have to change the projectile type dot player. As at first there was just a punctuation and then just the word player. Now you have to write the following: projectile type dot player and projectile type dot enemy, and we haven't had to change anything at the player or the enemy class. We'll have to change this to projectile image, if I'm correct. And right now there are errors. Why is there error?
One eternity later.
Alright, I don't know why, but for some reason the texture to the projectile image isn't supposed to be right here, but you should copy it, delete it right here, and paste it all the way up top right around here, but shouldn't actually be a problem, and we'll have to write private. But right now you'll see, if we've changed this and you press play, we will finally be able to have shits be shot at us. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. And as you can see, it's working right now. Everything works. There are no errors left, and the toilet is now shooting shits and we're shooting jerrycans. So I hope everything works at your side, and enjoy. I'm not quite sure how, but once the basis of our game is finished, I will look into it. Love y'all.